I mean, come on. That was a scene, right? That was a scene from the highly anticipated world premiere production of The Hours, and it's now playing at the Metropolitan Opera. The Met performance follows the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel and Oscar-winning film of the same name.
Heading up the performance, the dynamic trio of award-winning soprano Renee Fleming, Tony Award-winning singer and actress Kelly O'Hara, and Grammy Award-winning mezzo-soprano Joyce DiDonato. And we are delighted to have them here with us in the studio today. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Your voices are just absolutely incredible. What a delight. And Renee, congratulations. Tell us how this all got started. I heard you spoke with the composer. You said you wanted to bring this to the stage. It happened. Tell us about that process.
Right. So Kevin Putz and I had been working on a George O'Keeffe project, and he said, how about an opera? I said, of course. And so we were sort of, just spitballing titles, and when The Hours came up, I said, oh, that's it. That's got to be it. I mean, just to have three women singing together, you always look for opportunities for ensembles and trios and duos, and the story is compelling and so relevant. Mental health, AIDS, we just are still in a pandemic, so it was just a perfect opportunity to bring something great.
It's just incredible how they got all three of you together. I mean, just amazing. And Joyce, of course, you've got that very moving performance. You play a very famous author, Virginia Woolf. This is a woman who's struggling to keep her wits about her in the 1920s. It's still a very relatable storyline, isn't it?
It is very much, because what's interesting is the opera takes place in one day. It's one day in the lives of all three of us. And so in the case of Virginia Woolf, which is an iconic character that we all know, you're trying to condense a really rich life and show that in one day. So we see her struggle with mental health, we see her genius and her wit emerge, her trying to struggle and find really that first sentence to her famous novel, Mrs. Dalloway, and the suicide that is hanging over her life, really, that is present throughout the show as well.
And Kelly, you made your Metropolitan Opera debut back in 2015, coincidentally with Renee. How is it to be back on stage with her so many years later?
Wonderfully safe. It does feel like she welcomed me so beautifully back then. She did again, as did Joyce. I get a little bit more comfortable each time. I know that I come from the other side of the tracks, but it has been an incredibly being on Broadway. I mean, that it's been an incredibly joyous and comforting and uplifting experience.
Fantastic.
Renee, you're portraying Clarissa Vaughn. And this is a very emotional character. Of course, Meryl Streep played that role in the film for The Hours. Clarissa really takes the audience on this emotional journey. Do you take that in? Do you internalize that emotion?
Well, I have to in the end when we lose the man that I'm a soulmate with, the character of Richard. So there's no question, it's a highly emotional piece. It gives the audience permission to feel, to weep. I think that the snippet that you played is the final trio, which people just keep talking about and saying it's incredibly moving. So, and it's completely sold out, so that's a good sign.
That is a good sign.
Definitely is. And Joyce, your voice has taken you around the world, out of Kansas City. We were in Kansas City at the same time, but you've been all over the world, and the curtain call speaks volumes. The audience just praising you. How familiar were you with the story before taking it to the stage, or making the decision to take on the role?
Well, the decision to take on the role was very easy because it was the subject matter and it was the cast. So, I mean, that's an easy thing. You want to be surrounded by people that lift you up and challenge you and are better than you, and so everybody rises to the best that we can. But it's been really special because, as Renee was saying, we find that this piece is so pertinent right now, coming out of the pandemic. Mental health issues have really risen to the forefront, and you've got, in particular, Virginia Woolf, that we know her story quite well, or even those that don't will understand it a bit more. Manic depression, genius, and being a woman in a society where she's not allowed to flourish with her own intellect and her own potency. And so it's a really wonderful, I think it is resonating with a lot of people.
Yeah, and to your point, these are unfortunately very common issues now, but they're very heavy issues. And Renee, what do you hope that folks who watch this and go to this performance, what do you hope they take away from it?
Well, if they've loved a film and Michael Cunningham's brilliant Pulitzer Prize winning book, they'll find that music brings a whole new dimension to the story, and this is why we can't be compared to the actors who played these parts. And because, again, it's this heightened emotional ability to go through a piece. It moves very quickly. Nobody gets bored in this opera. It's not, they're not stand and sing moments, really. It's quite fast. We have dancers, we have a fabulous chorus. So I think the takeaway is just simply going to be that it's extraordinary and that people are on the edge of their chairs wondering what will happen.
And Renee, you've been performing for 30 years. You took a break, about a 5-year break, but you said you wanted to take on some less traditional, more unique roles. Does this performance now check off all of those boxes?
So I haven't taken any breaks. I mostly concertize. The only break we had was the pandemic. But I haven't sung opera at the Met in 5 years, and this role is perfect. It's exactly what I would have wanted to do. My next is in Paris, playing Pat Nixon in Nixon in China. So it's going to be a really fun season.
All right, absolutely. We're going to be watching. And Joyce, you started rehearsing during the pandemic, and I hear that it was in a huge ballroom. How did that happen?
Well, I did a show, actually, that was streamed from the Met, and it was in a huge warehouse, actually, from Germany. And that was one of the ways that all the arts organizations during the pandemic, we were scrambling to find ways to actually still bring what we do to the audience in their homes, on the screens. And so I know Peter Gelp at the Met found this way of doing a live concert streamed, even if we couldn't get people into the theater.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. That is fantastic. A way for everyone to see it.
Yeah, 100%.
It's great they're not here in New York City. Well, ladies, thank you so much for being here. An absolute pleasure. Renee Fleming, Kelly O'Hara, Joyce DiDonato, thank you. Their performances of the hours will continue at the Metropolitan Opera House through December 15th.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.